Hey guys, so today's video is all about my favorite makeup. It's basically my version of the video that trended last year, the top 3 favorites in every makeup category. Before we get into this, leave me some of your holy grail favorite makeup products in the comments. I'm always looking for new recommendations. I've been getting really into makeup again lately, so let me know down below. I hope that you guys will enjoy it. If you do, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get into it because we have a lot of makeup to talk about. Starting out in the base and primer section, this is kind of hard because I kind of like to use a moisturizer or something hydrating on my face, but I do have a couple of products to talk about. So I do have a primer and I really like it. This is the Rare Beauty Pore Diffusing Primer. I wouldn't say that this is like a traditional pore filling primer, and that's why I really like it because it has a smoothing kind of gel feel to it, but it's also really hydrating on the skin and it leaves you with a little bit of a dew, and it's almost like a balm for the face. So I wouldn't say it's a traditional pore filling primer at all, but I really like that, and I just think it's a really beautiful base for underneath your makeup. So this is probably my most used primer in my collection, and if I'm gonna reach for one, it's usually this one. Now, as far as moisturizers, I use different ones, but one that I've really been loving because it's the perfect base for my makeup is actually a mask, but it really is a moisturizer. It's the Fresh Floral Recovery Calming Mask. This is a massive tub. The packaging is this beautiful periwinkle color. It's so pretty. The product itself is just luxurious and thick and so moisturizing. Has a really nice light scent, doesn't smell super fragranced at all. When I first started using this, I kind of thought it was breaking me out, but I realized it was something else because I took it out of my routine for a little bit, and then when I reintroduced it, I haven't had any issues. So I do really like this. I feel like it's really soothing on the skin, and it's perfect for a base underneath your makeup because it really does give you that juicy skin that I personally love underneath makeup. So I know that's only 2 products. I do have sort of an honorable mention though, because even though I haven't used this for that long and it is a tiny little mini size, this is one that I do find myself reaching for when I want my makeup to last a little bit longer, even though I feel like most of the time primers don't help that much with that. This one I kind of feel like it does. This is the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This was popular a couple of years ago. A lot of people still really love it. And it's kind of like a tacky texture once you blend it onto the skin. But when you first apply it, it really feels similar to that Rare Beauty one. Almost like a gel hydrating texture to it. Very lightweight. And then once you blend it out, it gets a little bit tackier. So your makeup really adheres to it, blends beautifully over top, and I do feel like it helps a little bit with longevity. But I've only gone through half of this little size, and it's so tiny that I feel like I need to use it more even to have my fully formed opinion on it. But I have really been liking it, so I did want to mention it. That is my primer or base product section. Next, moving into foundations. I prefer a lighter coverage, more natural look to the skin. None of these are super high coverage because honestly, I never really go for high coverage. There are some out there that I do want to try, like the Armani Luminous Silk. I've gone through a lot of samples of the Too Faced Born This Way foundation, and I do really like that one, but I just haven't picked it up because 9 times out of 10, I go for something more like a BB cream or a skin tint. So 2 of these are that type of product, and even the foundation that I have here is a little bit more on the light coverage side. First product is a no-brainer for me. I've talked about this in my recent videos that it's my new favorite base product, and this is the Misha Perfect Cover BB Cream. I'm obsessed. It's such a good product. You guys are gonna see in the demo when I apply this that the shade is a little bit off for me. Once it sits on the skin for a while though and oxidizes, and then I blend my other makeup on top, it really doesn't look too noticeable or anything. It's a pretty good shade match once my makeup is fully done. But I do feel like I want to get another shade or 2 in this because I just would like to have something that matches my skin a little bit better, even just to mix it with something else. But for now, this is working and I can't stop wearing it because it just looks so good on the skin. I'm not wearing it right now because I did the demo before I filmed this video, and so I used another product last, but most of the time in my recent videos, I have been wearing this because it just has the most perfect natural finish, light to medium coverage, and it lasts beautifully. It just makes my skin look healthy and plump and young, and just, it's so beautiful. And then this other one is a skin tint, and I did mention this in like a vlog that I wasn't sure exactly how I felt about it and that I didn't like it as much as the Misha BB cream, but I feel like I kind of underestimated this, you guys, because the more I've used it with different applicators and stuff, I feel like it looks beautiful no matter how you apply it. And I still like the Misha one a little bit more, but I think this one is also really, really good, and I have been reaching for it a lot more. So this is the Fenty Beauty Ease Drop Blurring Skin Tint. This is very, very popular. A lot of people rave about this, and that's why I picked it up, but I got it at the same time as the Misha and ended up reaching for that one more. Although I do still really, really love this one, especially after using it more and more. This actually looks really, really good with a dry sponge, believe it or not. I generally do not use a dry sponge for anything, but this product it works with. In my demo today, my sponge wasn't dry, but I also feel like it looks good with a wet sponge or a brush or your fingers, whatever you want to use it with. It's just a very versatile product. It's a little bit like a smidge more light coverage than the Misha, but it's buildable, so you can definitely build up the coverage. It looks very natural and skin-like. The Misha has a little bit more of a dew to it than this one. This one is like the perfect, just like natural skin finish. So maybe if you have oilier skin, you would prefer this. Those have just become staples in my collection, even though I haven't had them for all that long. The last one is one that I have had for a long time, but it is a foundation, so it is a little bit more coverage, and I tend to reach for those over this one, but I still really like this. This is the Clinique Even Better Makeup. It has a very natural skin-like finish. Like I said, a little bit more coverage than those, but still on the light to medium side. It's definitely not a full coverage foundation at all, and it's just a good one that I've been using for a long time, like I said. So I did want to mention it because from what I own, this is in my top 3. Okay, concealer. I really hope you guys have a coffee drink or something like that with you because we're gonna be here for a while yet. Okay, so if I had to pick my favorite concealer that I reach for the most out of all my concealers, would probably be the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. I love this so much. I've had it for years. It's such a good product. Even though it does come in a pot, this is kind of nice for if you're doing other people's makeup or something. And I honestly don't really mind it because I really like the way that it looks applied with my finger anyways. So that's how I use it majority of the time. It's just the most perfect soft matte finish, just like the name says. The thing I really, really like about this is how it's really, really creamy, but it has coverage that doesn't blend away. Like when you apply this onto a blemish, it covers that blemish and it doesn't blend away like a lot of concealers do, but it still looks so, so, so natural on the skin, which is a combo that is very rare and hard to find in my personal experience when it comes to a concealer. It also looks really, really beautiful on my under eyes and probably creases less than any other concealer I have found, which is very rare for me also because everything creases on my under eyes. So this is probably my all-time favorite. But then some others that I do really like, don't judge me too harshly on this because I know a lot of people are way, way over this, but the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer is still one that I do use. Personally, I don't really have dry under eyes, so this just isn't something that I deal with where it looks cakey or heavy under my skin if I use a small amount. Now, do I feel like the NARS one looks more natural? Yes, but I also feel like if I use a small amount of this, it doesn't look bad because my under eyes just, they're not super dry, and I do have a lot of darkness around my eyes. You guys will see that in the demo when I have like concealer on one side and not on the other. It's just very noticeable. So I do like to have something that really, really covers that up. Although the other concealers I have here are great coverage as well. But this one's just that little bit extra, and I use it when I'm doing a little bit more of a glam makeup look. And the third concealer here is one that I tried this out, I think in a first impressions like last summer, and wasn't in love with it because I used it wrong. So this is the Merit, what's it called? Perfecting Complexion Stick. I have 2 shades here. I often mix them because one is a little light and one is a little dark, but it just depends on how tan I am at the moment. I do not recommend swiping these on because that is how I used it in my first impressions, and it just does not look best that way. The way that I use this is basically the same way that I use the NARS concealer. I warm it up with my finger and then I tap it out on my skin. They're very similar actually in their texture and the way they look on the skin. I think I prefer the NARS just a little bit more, but these actually look really, really good as well, especially, like I said, when you apply it with your finger. I wouldn't recommend swiping these onto your skin. I feel like too much product comes off, and it just looks the best when you warm it up with your finger. So I really, really like these concealers, and they have been climbing up my list. But I do have one more thing to say about concealer. In my last Sephora order, I got samples of this Ilia serum concealer. I believe that's what it's called. It looks really, really, really natural. I've gone through like 3 of these little samples already, and I'm obsessed. So this is probably going to be my next concealer purchase, but it can't technically be on this list because I've only gone through samples. I'll keep you guys updated on that though and let you know. Let's move on to powder because this is going to be a quick section. I only have 2 just because I really didn't have a third one that I felt like belonged here. Number 1, my favorite, I did not think I would ever say this, but the Kosas Cloud Set Powder. When I first heard people talk about this, I didn't think it was going to be for me because my powder has to really set down my product, and I don't want it to just like lightly set it. And that's kind of the vibe that I got from people when they talked about this. But honestly, this really sets my makeup down, and even on my under eyes where my concealer usually creases really bad, this will set my concealer down and keep it from creasing as bad. And it looks so natural on the skin, just like everyone says. I will say when you first buy this, there is almost like a layer on the top that you kind of have to like dig through or scrape off or something, because at first I felt like it wasn't really doing that much, but as I kept using it and breaking through that top layer, then I felt like I was actually getting product on my brush and it was actually setting. And ever since, I can't stop using it. I use it pretty much every single time I do my makeup. So I definitely recommend the Kosas Cloud Set. I also love the packaging of this. I just think that it's beautiful for all skin types, to be honest. Even if you have oily skin, I think you would still like this. But if you want something a little bit more affordable or just another option in case you don't like that one, I have to go back to a staple, an OG. This packaging is so like janky and broken and just looks crazy, but this is a classic, the Rimmel Stay Matte Translucent Powder. My lid is like broken on here, but I've gone through so much of this, I don't have that much left because before I discovered the Kosas, I used this all the time. It was my favorite and my go-to, and I still really like it. I just prefer the Kosas a little bit more because it looks less powdery on the skin, but this still looks really good, and it's one that I would definitely repurchase. It's a lot more affordable than the Kosas one, and it's a great, simple powder. Personally, I prefer a pressed powder to a loose powder just because it's so much less hassle, less mess, so easy to do, and I just don't always feel like I have the energy or the time to mess with a loose powder. That's not to say I don't like any of them, it's just not my go-to, so that's why I don't have one to talk about in this video. Okay, now moving into what most people would probably consider the fun stuff. We have bronzer, blush, highlight, lips, all that good stuff. So for bronzer, it was really, really hard for me to narrow this down. So I do have 4 to mention, only because I couldn't pick between the last 2. So the first one that I have to talk about, my all-time favorite, I know this is like old news for a lot of people and everyone's over it and they moved on to better bronzers, but I personally still love the Milk Makeup Cream Bronzer. So much that the writing is completely rubbed off of mine. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's well loved. So I know people say that it's a little bit stiff, or maybe they feel like it doesn't blend the same way a lot of other cream bronzers do nowadays. Personally, I feel like this blends well. I maybe have to work a little bit harder than some other cream bronzers, but the reason I like this so much is because it's pigmented. Like, I don't have to build it up for 10 minutes to get it to show up on my skin. And personally, I like a bronzy look. I like to have color to my face, and I don't like it to look like I didn't put on any bronzer at all. So that's why I really like this one, because I feel like I don't have to work as hard to get that color payoff, and I do feel like it looks so pretty on the skin once it's blended out. It just has a perfect natural satin, slightly dewy but not too dewy finish, and the color and the tone and everything is completely perfect for my skin. Like, it's such a beautiful shade. So I always find myself reaching for this one over my others. So I had to mention this first, but I also have a powder option because sometimes, maybe if I want my makeup to last a little bit longer or I just want to switch it up, I will go for this. And this is also slightly more cool toned than the Milk one. By the way, the Milk one is in the shade Baked. This is the NARS Laguna Bronzer. This is a smaller size, but I mean, it's going to take me forever to go through this. It's definitely a little bit of a deep shade, but again, I really like when something shows up on my face and gives me that bronzy look. This gives you such a beautiful bronzy summer glow. It's not completely matte, but it also isn't shimmery. It just has a little bit of a really pretty bronzy sheen in there that looks so gorgeous on the skin. So I do really, really like this one for when I want to go for a powder bronzer. Then the other two are the ones I couldn't really choose between because I'm not as passionate about these. I do like them though. These are both more affordable than the ones I just mentioned. So if you're looking for something more affordable, maybe you'll be more interested in these. So the first one is the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I tried this out in a video not too long ago. And at first I wasn't sure if it was going to replace the Milk one because I did really like how it looked. But I realized after using it a few times that it's not quite as pigmented off the bat as what I would personally like in a cream bronzer. You have to build it up a little more. Now it does build nicely, but it just takes a little bit more time and effort to get the same color payoff. So this one is in the shade Tan Lines. It's definitely the best tone for me, I would say, out of all their shades. Maybe slightly more cool tone than the Milk one, but the Milk one is not orange or too warm for me in any way. They're pretty similar, I'd say. I think they both look really good on the skin. I really love how easily the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer blends out. And it just has this really thin, easy to work with formula, especially if you're a beginner. I do wish that it came in a little bit of a wider tub because it is kind of hard to get your brush in there. That's the only complaint I have with the packaging. Other than that, I don't mind a little tub like this at all. But yeah, I guess it's just the reason I don't reach for it as much as the Milk one is because it isn't quite as pigmented, and I still think it's a good option. If you have any cream bronzer recommendations, products that blend easily but also give you that color payoff, definitely let me know in the comments because I would be really interested to hear your recommendations for that. Last one here is actually not a bronzer. This is a concealer, and I like to use this in the right shade for concealer as well, but I use this one as a bronzer shade. This is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer in the shade Warm Olive. So this is perfect for my skin tone because I have an olive undertone. It doesn't have any kind of like dewy look to the skin, but maybe you don't want that. I don't know. And it lasts really nicely. And I do feel like it blends out pretty well. It looks good on the skin as a bronzer. So I did want to mention that I use this as bronzer because I do like it. I just couldn't really pick between this one and the e.l.f. one. So I decided to just talk about them both. Okay guys, next we have blush. I posted about this on my Instagram a while ago and I've talked about it in some videos. This is like become my new favorite cream blush. This is the Rare Beauty, what's it called? I'm not sure the exact name of this, but I'm sure you guys know which one I'm talking about. It will be linked down below. It's the Rare Beauty blush that comes in the little tube with the doe foot applicator, and this is in the shade Hope. I love this shade. It's the perfect neutral pink tone. Looks really pretty and natural on the skin. It lasts beautifully, and a little goes such a long way. Like, you will never run out of this because you really only need like one dot on each cheek. I go a little bit ham with this because I really love the blushy look, so sometimes I use like a dot and a half or 2 dots, but if you're a normal person, you probably do not want more than just one little dot on the cheek because it is extremely pigmented and it just looks so beautiful on the skin. It's the perfect natural satin finish. It's a little dewy, but not too dewy. I definitely want to get more shades of this because it's like my go-to. An older favorite that I've had forever that I still really, really love, and I use this one a lot. This is more of a peachy shade, but I really like this formula. This is the ColourPop Blush Sticks in the color Aloha. I feel like not a lot of people talk about this or are crazy about it, but it's really affordable, and I think the formula of this is really good. It blends out beautifully, it's pigmented, and it lasts on my cheeks. And honestly, I prefer it over some of the other like drugstore cream blushes that I've tried. I haven't tried them all or anything. I'm sure there's great ones out there, but I like that this one is a little bit more pigmented than some of the ones I've tried, and that's a big deal for me when a cream blush isn't pigmented or doesn't last. It just kind of throws me off because I like blush and I don't want to have to build it up for like 10 minutes in order to get the payoff that I want. I do have other cream blushes I like. These are just like my favorites. The last one is a powder blush because I've had this in my collection for so long, and I do feel like it's a staple and kind of like a holy grail product. So I will probably repurchase this because I'm running low on it. This is the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush, and I do like the color a lot. It's a perfect neutral kind of shade, but I really like the formula because it blends beautifully. And with a powder blush, pigment isn't usually an issue, but sometimes blendability is, and this one blends really nicely. So I really appreciate that. You can't really see the shade on camera, especially because the pan is like a weird color under there. I'm not sure what happened with that, but this is the shade Party. I think it's a really beautiful neutral pink tone. Definitely recommend it. And when I want a powder blush, this is usually the one that I reach for. I've had it for so long. I've used it on so many brides and bridesmaids, so many times when I've done wedding makeup or just done someone's makeup in general. I've often used this one. I tend to use cream products more nowadays, but I still like this blush a lot. So for highlight, my most used highlight in my collection that I am truly obsessed with is one that you guys have heard me talk about a lot, the Auric Glow Lust. This is Samantha Ravndal's brand, if you didn't know. Such a luxury quality brand, like so beautiful. The thought that goes into the design of these products and the quality, the formula, everything. Definitely not a cheap brand, but I think it's worth the price. People spend money on Charlotte Tilbury and Laura Mercier and brands like that all the time. And I think that this is definitely up to that quality and it deserves more attention. So this is their Glow Lust Radiant Luminizer. It's like a cream highlight. It has such a beautiful natural finish, but it still shows up on the skin and it gives you a glow without being over the top. It's a perfect in between in my opinion. Again, the packaging is phenomenal. The pump on this is so like controlled. You can get as little or as much product as you want out of it, which is amazing because you're not wasting product and you get so much product, so you're never going to run out. You can build it up, but it is always going to be on the more natural side as compared to like a blinding powder highlight. Personally, that's what I prefer though. I really don't ever wear powder highlights anymore, except for the one that I'm going to talk about next. It's another favorite of mine. But yeah, this is just my go-to. I'm obsessed. It makes you look so beautiful and glowing and dewy and just radiant, like truly magnificent. That's what this product delivers. So the powder highlight I was talking about is one that I'm sure a lot of you guys know about. It's very affordable. This is the Essence Pure Nude Highlight in Be My Highlight. This is one that I still use all the time, especially when I just want to slap something on really quick and I don't want to take the time with a cream highlight. This is so pretty. It still looks so natural on the skin. I've had this one forever, so the packaging is a little crazy. I'm sure I'll repurchase it. It's probably time to by now, to be honest, but I still use it and love it. And if you haven't tried this, what are you doing? Because this is the best natural powder highlight to ever exist. You can build it up, but it's still gonna look so much more natural on the skin than a lot of those traditional powder highlights. Stunning, beautiful, love it. Okay, the last one is one that's a little bit more of a recent favorite, but I do really like it, especially when I want something super, super natural, because this is probably the most natural highlight in my collection. And I know that's not for everyone, but for me personally, I don't wear blinding highlights like I used to. I really go on the more natural side with highlight. So sometimes I want something like this. And this is the Merit Highlighting Balm in the shade Kava. It's just this really pretty light champagne tone. I just warm it up with my finger and tap it onto my cheeks. It's really quick and easy. And it looks really good with no makeup on if you just want to give your cheekbones that like little bit of dew. Like I said, it looks really natural and really pretty if that's what you're going for. Definitely recommend that one. I need more coffee. Okay, eyeshadow. This was a little bit hard for me because I use all kinds of things when it comes to eyeshadow. I haven't bought an eyeshadow palette in forever, but recently I picked up these little e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. Both of these are more neutral. This one is all matte. This one has some shimmers in it. Both of them are beautiful. The mattes blend so beautifully. The shimmers look really good. They're such good quality for the price. These are so, so cheap, and I definitely recommend them if you haven't picked up any already. They have so many different shade ranges in these palettes, so you can really get whatever you're looking for, and they're great for travel because it's so tiny. And I honestly use these at home all the time because they're just so easy and quick and such good quality. And technically, I guess this is just two products for eyeshadow, but I also want to mention the ColourPop Super Shock Shadows because I know that nobody really talks about these that much anymore, but I still love these and I think they're really good. My favorite is their Ritz Super Shock Shadow. This is an absolutely beautiful shade. I wore it today because I put it on in the demo, and I don't really know if you can see on camera how pretty it looks in person. It's just like this beautiful shimmery glitter. It makes your eyelids look so freaking pretty. If you have not picked this up already, you need to pick it up. It is so cheap, and I think every single person should have it in their collection. It's just this incredibly beautiful like taupe shimmer, but it's like sheer, but then you have like these little glitters, but they're not really huge chunky glitters. It just looks so ethereal. I feel like everyone that talks about this raves about it because it's that good. Like I bought it years ago because of Mariah Leonard, I think. She put me on because she was raving about it, and I've heard a few other people say the same things, like it's worth every cent. So definitely pick this up. brows. I have 4 brow products to talk about because these are just the ones that I use the most. I couldn't pick 3. Like, these are my staples. The most recent one to my collection actually is this e.l.f. Wow Brow. Wow, this is insane. Like, for how cheap this is and what it does, I don't know why I have never tried it before. I've talked about other tinted brow gels on my channel because that's what I go for a lot of the time when I want something natural and simple and quick, but none of them have been as good as this one. And it has those little fibers in it that kind of add that thickness to your brow. It makes my brows look so full without filling them in with a pencil or anything. It just makes my brows look really thick, and obviously the fibers help with fullness, and it just looks so good. And then when I'm going to take a little bit more time and really fill my brows in, I either go for my Milani Weekend Brow Eyebrow Tint. This is in the shade Soft Brown. And then I also have the Anastasia Brow Wiz in the shade Soft Brown. So these are a little bit lighter than what my dyed hair color is. These are more for like my natural color, but I still find that they work with my dark hair. So sometimes I don't want my brows to look too harsh, so I go for lighter shades like this. I've been using the Brow Wiz for years. I know it's kind of like an older product to a lot of people, but I still use it and love it. It still looks so natural, and I can get like hair-like strokes with it depending on how I apply it. So it's not like I'm doing a 2015 Instagram brow with it. Like, I can still get the effect that I want. And then for the Milani Weekend Brow, I haven't had this for as long, but I love it so much because you can get those really, really fine, thin brush strokes with it. It just depends on if I'm in the mood to use it that day, because you have to be a little bit more careful with this type of product. But once you figure out how to use it, it looks so natural in the brows, and it's perfect for if you want like a fluffy brow look. I haven't been going for that as much lately, but sometimes I do want that. And then the clear brow gel that I've been using the last while and that I really love is the NYX Brow Glue. So personally, I don't think this is the best for if you want that really intense, fluffy, laminated brow. I know some people say that this keeps their brows straight up. It doesn't do that for me, but since I haven't really been going for that, I really like it just to keep my brows in place, because it does keep them locked in place. It just doesn't keep them like brushed straight up. I have the e.l.f. Soap Brow, and that one works really well if I want like the super fluffy laminated brow. But this is great for every day when I'm just doing my normal like natural brow look, and it does keep them in place, and it's super affordable. So definitely recommend the NYX Brow Glue. For mascara, I really only have 2. I can't give you guys a third one. I've tried a lot of mascaras, and I always go back to these 2. I've used them for years, and I love them to pieces. I only have one of them with me right now because the other one I need to repurchase. The one I have here is the Lancome Monster Big. I'm obsessed with this mascara. It gives me such voluminous lashes, but still makes them look long. I love the shape of the brush because it's just simple and straight. It's nothing crazy with like all kinds of different sizes to it. I don't know. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves personally, and that's why I don't like a lot of mascaras, just because of how the end of the brush tapers out so much on a lot of them. And I like a volumizing mascara, but with those, I poke myself in the eye because I have really tiny eyes, and the inner corners of my eyes, like the lashes are really like thin and small, and so it's annoying, and I don't feel like I get the results that I really want, to be honest. So I prefer a more straight brush or one that's tapered in at the end. This one's pretty straight, so I really like it. But honestly, just the product itself, the formula of this is insane. It gives me the most insane lashes. Like, nothing does quite what this one does. My other favorite is way, way more affordable. It is the Essence Lash Princess. I know Essence has a ton of mascaras, but it's the one that comes in the black and green tube. It's like a black tube with light green like swirls on it. Pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. It has a very tapered, thin wand, which I really like, but it still gives me a lot of volume and a lot of length as well. So I really, really like that mascara, and I will repurchase it next. I don't buy this one that much because it's so expensive, but a while ago they had a set on Sephora where it was 2 for the price of 1, so I couldn't resist that because it's literally like 50% off of the mascara. So I picked that up. I'm going through the second tube right now. I'll probably get the Essence one again next because it is really a great mascara and it's so much more affordable. But this is also one that I really like to pick up like periodically because it's just so good, and I always love having it in my little makeup arsenal. So those are my favorite mascaras. Now we just have setting spray, and then we have a bunch of lip products to talk about. So for setting spray, I have 4 again, but I only have 2 of them here with me to talk about. Probably my favorite out of all of them is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Mist, because This doesn't like make my makeup last insane or anything, but it melts everything together and just makes my makeup look so natural on my face. Gives me a little bit of a dew, but nothing crazy or over the top. If I want something a lot more dewy, I really like the L'Oreal Shake and Glow Lumi Dew Mist. It's a long name. I always get it jumbled up, but that one is really great for a lot of glow. But I like how this one just gives me that natural, sort of dewy, melted together look. I'm almost out. But then for a more long-lasting setting spray, the two that I like the most are this e.l.f. Stay All Night Microfine Setting Mist. And then the other one I don't have with me because I've gone through the bottle and I haven't repurchased since, the Milani Make It Last Setting Spray. That one is also great if you want your makeup to last. So this one and that one are the one that I go to when I really want my makeup to last a long time, because I feel like they kind of just set everything in place a little bit better. So those are my favorite setting sprays. There are so many products and my voice is getting tired. Lip products. I have so many favorites. I picked like multiple in every lip product category because I just have so many. Let's start with lip glosses because I love lip gloss and these were very easy for me to pick. Like my top 3 favorite lip glosses, a no-brainer. These were just very easy for me. So my favorite clear gloss is the Tower 28. Their Shine On Lip Jelly. This is in the shade Chill, but it's pretty much clear. I mean, it looks slightly light pink maybe in the tube, but this is clear. Like when you put it on, it's clear. It's my favorite because it has a really, really thin, almost like jelly texture, but it feels really moisturizing on the lips and it looks really glossy and glassy and it's just the perfect clear gloss for me. I love this. Next, we have the Fawn Beauty Glosses. So this one is in the shade A Staple. I also like the other shades that I have, but this is probably my favorite one. It's just a really beautiful kind of pinky tone. Apparently it's very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury, what's it called? You know, you guys know the famous lipstick that Charlotte Tilbury has. I don't have it. I'm blanking on the name right now for some reason, but this is supposed to be like the gloss version of that. And it's such a beautiful shade. I love the Fawn Beauty glosses so much. They're a very thin, hydrating texture. They're not sticky at all. They look really glossy. So love the Fawn Beauty glosses. And then lastly, this is still one of my favorite glosses, the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bombs. This is just their original formula. I know they have a lot of different formulas now. This one is in the shade Fussy. I also really like the original Fenty Glow shade, but I tend to reach for this one a little bit more because I really like that like neutral sort of cool toned pinky shade. I love the scent of these so much, always have, and the texture is a little bit thicker than the other glosses, but it's not sticky. It's just a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more thick, but it still feels really good on the lips and it's really glossy and pretty, and love the Fenty Gloss Bombs. Okay, for lipstick, these were easy too because these are definitely like my 3 favorite lipstick formulas. First one is the Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick. I think this is such a good, affordable, simple lipstick formula. They're creamy, they're pigmented, like everything you want in a lipstick, you know, it's the perfect lipstick formula at the drugstore. And this is like my favorite nude shade. I also have my other favorite nude here to talk about, but they're honestly such similar nudes that the shades are kind of interchangeable. The formula is really what's different. But anyways, this is the shade Brazilian Tan. I love this nude so much. It's the perfect like neutral, kind of like almost bronzy nude tone. I love this type of nude a lot more than a really pinky nude. That's just me personally. Just such a good nude lipstick. And the other nude lipstick I was talking about is the Merit Signature Lip Lightweight Lipstick. This is a newer product on the market, but I fell in love with it when it came out. And this one is in the shade Slip. It's actually very similar to Brazilian Tan. Like they're kind of dupes for each other, but the formula is different on the Merit. This is a lot more of a thin, lightweight texture, like it says, but it still gives you the color payoff. It's just not as like rich and like intense. You have to build it up a little bit more, but you still get the pigment. It's very thin and comfortable and just looks beautiful on the lips. Like this is such a good formula. It's so like innovative and kind of different from what's out there on the market with lipstick because it's not like it's a sheer lip product, but it's also not a traditional lipstick formula. I don't know. I just love it so much. Also, the packaging on this is just absolutely stunning. And then lastly, I have 2 shades in the Bite Power Move Soft Matte Lipstick. I am not a matte lipstick kind of girl at all, so it's kind of crazy that these are like in my top 3, but they really are. They're so good. They are not a traditional matte lipstick because it's just a nice, natural, soft matte. And my favorite thing about these is how thin they are. Like, they're as thin and lightweight as the Merit, but they're more of a soft matte finish, so it's a very different formula. It's so lightweight on the lips. It literally feels like you are not wearing lipstick. Like, sometimes when I put these on, I forget I'm wearing lipstick because you can't feel it on your lips, but you can like see it, like a full pigmented lipstick. Like, it's crazy. This formula is so unique and so cool, and I'm truly obsessed with it. I do like both of these shades, but neither of them is like my favorite ever. I really like a good neutral nude, and I'm still looking for that perfect shade in this formula because it's hard to tell from swatches online. I think I know which one I want to get next, but I do really like these shades. I have Sugar Buns and Sesame, so I'll swatch them for you. There's Sugar Buns. It's kind of like a mauvey, purpley toned shade. And then we have Sesame, which is a little bit more of like a warm pink tone. So this one right here is Sesame, and this is Sugar Buns. Seriously, just a top-notch matte lip formula. Okay, we're finishing up, you guys. I have 2 lip liners to talk about. The first one is a product that has been in my collection forever, since I was like in school probably, and I've used it for so long. I've loved it for so long. I've repurchased it so many times. It is the Milani Color Statement Lip Liner in 04 All Natural. This is the perfect like tone. Almost has a little bit of a 90s vibe to it, but it's not quite that brown. I just love this shade so much. I feel like I will forever repurchase it. And then the other one is a little bit more recent. I haven't had this nearly as long, but the LA Girl Shockwave Nude Lip Liner in the shade Coquette is such a good nude. This is like a little bit more on the taupey cool tone side, which I really, really like. I picked this up because of Daisy Cash. I love her videos and her makeup recommendations so much. So she's raved about this and I had to pick it up, and I do really like it. It's actually quite similar to the Milani, but like I said, a little bit less pink, a little bit more of a taupey shade, but the formula is pretty similar, I would say, and I love the formula of both of these. And then 2 more, guys, and then we are done with this ridiculously long video. These are like more sheer type lip products. First, I have the Rare Beauty Liquid Lip Balm in Nearly Neutral. I love this formula because it really does feel like a liquid lip balm. It has a little bit more of a balmy texture, like enough to where it lasts on your lips a little bit more than like a lip oil would or something. This is like a mauvey nude shade, and it's just perfect to throw on. I have it in my bag a lot. And then I also really love the Merit lip oils. They have a lot of shades. This one is in the shade Au Natural. It's kind of like a warm pinky tone. This is just a really nice, thin, lightweight texture. It gives you nice color payoff, but still looks very sheer and pretty on the lips, and just has kind of the perfect texture for a lip oil in my opinion. Yeah, I really like this one to throw in my bag as well because it's just very easy to slap on without any lip liner or anything, and it just gives you a little bit of like a sheer color on your lips, which I really love that type of product. I have a lot of other products like that that I like, but those are probably the ones I use the most, and some of the other ones are like discontinued, so I don't want to talk about them because of that. But yeah, wow. Those are all of the makeup products I had to talk about in this video. My voice hurts so bad right now. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.